Condition. With Janaelle and Will.
Hello and welcome back to Alternate Win Condition. This is episode 7. With me is my co-host Will.
As things I've learned at the Pro Tour this weekend. 1, some people are still scumbags. 2, even pros can go 0-5 drop. And 3, even pros can make mistakes in games that lead to game losses.
Speaking of which, we have news for you guys. Some of it's really disappointing. There are cheaters being kicked out of the Pro Tour. Cheater, make cheater faces.
Yeah, there's at least 2 confirmed, and there is a questionable other one that I've heard is being looked into, but I don't want to go into that one until we have at least a statement from WotC saying yes, this person was disqualified for cheating. So
until then, we won't talk about him. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Right, but the other 2, I think I know WotC has released statements on both of them, and so yeah, they are known now.
We're about to have a segment of what don't fucking do ever.
Yes. All right. So lesson 1 of what not to fucking do. 1, if you're interacting with a judge, do not lie about the game state as is right now at that moment. Now,
I don't even know how someone does that. It's so simple to figure out if someone's lying about game state. First off, your opponent has been there the whole time.
Right. And I mean, I can understand, there's a misinterpretation of, did they cast a spell before this or after this? I can understand misunderstanding. But don't just straight out lie about what you saw. It's that's terrible. And the person who did this at the Pro Tour was Jeremy Desani. And the release from WotC said that he lied about the board state during a game, and they disqualified him for that. So
bad person.
Yes. But believe it or not, that's actually, of the 2 cheating incidences, I would say, okay, maybe that one somehow could have been misconstrued
No, that's bullshit. You don't lie to a judge about the game state.
Yes,
but the other one is worse.
Yeah, the other one is worse. The other one was by Steven Speck. And from what WotC has said about it is that the opponent presented a 53-card deck. His opponent pile shuffled it, realized it was 53 cards. Then they looked in his sideboard, and there were 7 cards that looked like it was a starting hand. Now, I can understand, 1 or 2 cards being in your sideboard and not accidentally not presenting a full 60-card deck. That's one thing. But 7 cards is one thing. And the other thing is, apparently there had to be lands in there for that to be a starting hand. And nobody ever.
Nobody's sideboard's land.
Yeah, it's out. Yeah, I mean, in the rarest of circumstances. So yeah, so once they saw that those 7 cards were in his sideboard, they disqualified him.
I don't understand how he planned to get them into his hand. That's what I don't understand. I
don't know either. The only thing I can think of is when his opponent was shuffling his deck or something, he would look to make sure that he had a sideboard and just kind of palm them in his hand, and then when he grabs his deck, just kind of place the 7 on top of it. That's the only thing I can think of.
Maybe. But, shady.
Yeah, shady shit. So, in other words, just don't do that. Seriously, just don't.
Just play the game. It is not worth cheating.
No, it's not. I'm about to say, then I guess I'm going to go a little bit off of our news segment here, because the one thing that I mentioned in the intro was that pros sometimes make mistakes that lead to game losses. Well, unfortunately, one was on camera, and I'm going to say this: WotC screwed up this one royally. Not that I think the ruling was wrong, but if you have a controversial judge call,
all right. Well, what happened?
You don't leave it on camera. Okay, you cut away. Anyway, so what happened? It was Patrick Chapin versus
Doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, he had a Johnny Mentor of Heroes on the battlefield. Now, Johnny Mentor of Heroes says you take 4 cards. You can reveal a creature or a planeswalker and put that card into your hand. Well, what he did is he took the 4 cards. He took the 1 card, and apparently when he took the 1 card that he was choosing, he put it face down, and it just touched one of his other sleeves of his main hand. He hadn't had a chance to do it because he was still putting the cards on the bottom of the deck. Unfortunately,
I don't understand.
Unfortunately, because the cards touched his main hand, they said that was looking at additional cards, and he forgot to reveal for the trigger. And unfortunately, since it supposedly went to his hand, they said, okay, well, then you could just reveal a card that's in your hand that was not the one you got with a Johnny Mentor of Heroes. So doing that, unfortunately, led to a game loss. Now, as for the ruling, I think the ruling is accurate. There is like, since it did come in contact with the main cards in his hand.
Yeah, that's to prevent cheating. You
to
gotta be careful.
It's to prevent cheating, and it was an honest mistake, I think. So I agree with the fact that he should have gotten a game loss for it, even though I know he was the whole big controversy behind that, and I don't even think that's the biggest part of the controversy. The biggest part of the controversy is that Wizards left the camera running the entire time. And he, of course, I mean, after the judge made the initial ruling, he appealed. The head judge came over. It was about 10 minutes of the most uncomfortable streaming Magic coverage I've ever seen in my life. I mean, it was just like, you could hear him just pleading his cases, like, look, I offered to reveal my entire hand to him. It was just on top of the other cards. It was not to the actual cards.
It sounds like his opponent was being a bit of a dick, but that is his right. A little bit. I personally think his opponent was probably rule lawyering a little bit on this. Like I said, that's his right. He's allowed to do that.
But I would say, and personally, I don't want to say, this put him on tilt for the rest of the day, but he did go on to not only lose, because that was game 3 of their match. And it was actually in extra turns. He proceeded to lose that match, and he proceeded to lose the next match behind that too. So, it was unfortunate. I think it was the right call, but the main controversy behind this is Wizards should have just cut away to their main desk or something. Like, we didn't need to hear all that for,
I don't see why
20 minutes.
I don't really see why not.
It's like, well, it was a controversial call, and we knew that emotions were going to be high during the call. It's not like
but that's what makes good coverage, is putting on something that's going to be emotional. People want to see. I know if I'd been watching, I would have wanted to see what he had to say, what his opponent had to say, and what the judge had to say, especially with the game in turns.
Well, I can agree to that to a certain point, but the main way it comes off looking.
No. You have to either agree with me or you don't agree with me. You can't agree to a point.
As I can agree with when the initial call was made, I'm okay with them keeping coverage on that, and then be like, okay, well, of course he's going to appeal, so we're going to step away, because even before he came back and talked to Patrick Chapin, there was probably a good 7 minutes of time where just nothing was happening. Literally nothing.
Well, if there's dead air, that's something different. But that's not the call. You didn't say there was 7 minutes of dead air. There should never be dead air.
Well, I just know, and then, I don't know, I guess Star City Games coverage has spoiled me a little bit, in that if there's a controversial call during a Star City Games thing, they'll cut away. Like, they'll just go back to the desk and be like, okay, the judges are sorting this stuff out. So it was a little.
Then that's a matter of taste. I would want to see the call, but like I said, you can never have dead air.
I would want to know the call. I would want to know what final results were. I would want to see
the call.
It's like
I want to hear the judge's explanation. I want to know exactly why the call is being made.
It's like I don't know. It's like. I want to know the final results of the call. I don't know if I want. It's one of those things, like, you don't want to see how some stuff is made.
That's what I'm saying. That's a matter of opinion.
Yeah, it's like, I don't think I wanted to see that much. And, of course, both, I would say, especially Patrick Chapin, of course, was naturally just trying to plead his case and everything else. And the whole thing, nobody came out looking really good out of this. It's just.
That's all the more reason to just put something like that on the screen, because, Magic's not always cut and dried. It shows this is what you sometimes have to do. You have to fight for your case, and the judge has to make a call that maybe people don't agree with.
Right. As I, and
that's what Magic coverage is supposed to be.
Yeah, a little bit. It's like, I mean, I guess I can agree to a point, but as I said, a different organization would be cutting away from that and not showing it. So, the only other thing that came up out of that was sort of interesting was they talked about the possibility of using instant replay since they're recording it anyway. However, I think most of the people who I've seen talk about that say, okay, well, then you're differentiating feature match area versus non-feature match area because all the other non-feature matches don't have cameras on them. So how do you ensure they have the same level of accuracy as the feature matches?
My opinion, frankly, you don't. If that's the question, you don't. If you end up on a feature match, good. You use the technology that you have at your disposal.
Well, see, but at the same time, though, I would want the judges to use the exact same tools they have everywhere in a tournament. As I would not want them to be able to say, "Oh, okay, well, just because you're a feature match, we can go back and try to rule on intent and everything else."
Well, no, not on intent per se, but I think if you have the ability to look at it, I don't think it's fair to not use that.
But at the same time, then everybody else in the tournament who's doing just as well and not necessarily getting a feature match doesn't have that same advantage.
Right. That's like you're looking at a sports game and the ref happens to not be looking in your direction when, you give a foul. Well, that's not fair. But that's just the way the game works. It just sometimes fucking happens.
But the difference is though every sports team has that capability. It's like, I mean, every game that occurs has the ability to every football game has the ability to go to instant replay. Magic's just not like that. It's like,
right, I didn't say instant replay. I said the ref was looking in a different direction, so he doesn't make a call. You can't do anything about that, whether or not it's being televised.
Yeah, but I mean, in that case, coaches could say, you throw a challenge flag and say, hey,
No, you can't. You can only make a challenge on a call.
It's like, yeah, it's like, okay, that's true. It's like,
if you have the technology to use it, why shouldn't you? It's not. I'd hate it when the ref's looking in a different direction and they don't fucking make a call. That drives me crazy. It's like I saw it. I was right there. Just play it back and you'll see it too.
It's like, yeah, I don't know. It's like, it's just that these things are so big, and it's like, I mean, don't get me wrong. If there was a question of someone actually cheating on camera, and if it came to, I guess that's probably the differentiation. Is like, this is just a minor. I mean, it doesn't seem minor at the time, but it's overall a minor call.
Yeah, but if you're gonna look at it that way, then you should use it. If you can use it for one thing, you should be able to use it for everything.
But no, I mean, if you
cheated on camera, the judge didn't see it. Now somebody called you on it. But if you have the chance to get a call in your favor, now you can't use it. That's not fair.
It's like, I guess the main thing is just try to follow the rules, basically, regardless of what setting you're in, and and
if you don't, or if your opponent calls a judge, plead your case and appeal.
Yeah,
that's how it should happen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So, but I think that's everything from kind of news from the Pro Tour.
Well, sort of. There's the PTQ schedule change that you were telling me about.
Yes. Okay. So it's actually, it's not directly related to this Pro Tour, but the way that they're going to be working the Pro Tours from now on, or Pro Tour or the preliminary Pro Tour qualifiers, is each store can have, I think, 2 preliminary Pro Tour qualifiers for each Pro Tour season. Mm-hmm. They can do one as limited, kind of like a sealed or draft or whatever. I guess it would be sealed, considering how many people are probably going to be competing in it. So it would be sealed, but the other one has to match whatever the format is for that Pro Tour. So, for example, say you're trying to qualify for Pro Tour Magic Origins, which would be the next one. Pro Tour Magic Origins is standard. So that means all the stores have to run a standard, or all the stores that run standard, preliminary, PTQ. Correct. You can't run it as a modern. You can't run it as legacy or tiny leaders or whatever else you want to run it as.
Were people doing that commonly?
Well, some places were running modern just because modern is very popular.
Oh.
But really, the only now the only set that you can run a modern PPTQ for will be the set after Battle for Zendikar, because the set after Battle for Zendikar's Pro Tour will be a modern Pro Tour.
I don't know. That seems weird. Why would you do that?
It's like, well, I would say I can understand, because you want to make sure the people who do qualify for these things, I mean, they still have to go to an actual Pro Tour qualifier, a regional Pro Tour qualifier, after doing the preliminary one. But you do have to, I mean, you have to show you do know the format that's being played.
That's what I'm saying. That's why I don't understand why anybody would run something that it's okay, whatever. I'm glad they made the rule. Not doing it that way doesn't make any sense. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'll say. I mean, the only real complaint I heard is people who really love modern say, okay, now we get less modern regional PTQs, or preliminary PTQs, I should say, and that I can understand.
That's an honest complaint. Maybe they should open up a new kind of tournament then that stores can put on for out of season. Just a big tournament they can put on, no matter what the format is, that gets them some kind of points or something.
Well, they do. It's called Star City Invitational Qualifiers.
Yeah, but then you have to be in with Star City. Not everybody does those.
True, but it's like...
And that's my point, is Wizards should do something that all the stores can participate in.
Well, actually, you know what? I stand corrected. I think there is still something they can do, pretty much whatever format they want to.
Uh-huh.
And it's Grand Prix trials. I forgot about the Grand Prix trials.
I don't think Grand Prix are put on by stores.
No, but the Grand Prix
That's
Grand Prix trials.
Point.
But the Grand Prix trials, though, the things, because that you can earn buys.
Right. No, I understand. I'm talking about something the stores put on, because the pre-PTQs and the PTQs are put on by stores.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Not put on by Wizards.
The GPTs are run by Wizards for their Grand Prix. It's kind of like the Invitational Qualifier. I know
that. You're missing what I'm saying. If they're pulling this, and people want to still have a big modern tournament or an off-season whatever, then the stores, like for Friday Night Magic, and who put on the pre-TQ, should have the ability to put on a big tournament that gets points or something that Wizards is not involved in. That means the modern players can have as many tournaments as they want. Stores get an opportunity to get more business and get more people playing more often. Plus, they get to keep their customers happy, because the only reason I can think that you would run a modern tournament in the middle of standard PTQ is because your players don't play standard.
Which, I mean, that's not very likely. It's like, I mean, there are some people who are first.
No, my
modern,
store does not play modern. Period.
I would say, well, see, that's the, I would say, probably 50 to 60% of stores, I would say, probably do not run modern. Right. Now, there are some stores, like the store I go to, that run legacy, modern, and standard every single week.
But you're like right on top of Star City.
Yeah, it's like, well, I mean, we are Star City, so
there you go.
It's like, so, but I mean, there are still stores in between. Like even the store that I was going to in South Carolina before I went to Star City, they ran modern on a weekly basis. So there are some...
that wasn't my point. I didn't say it never happened. I said that's the only reason I can think of would be because your players don't play standard. So as a store, like the store I go to, I wouldn't see, if I don't have any modern players and the modern Pro Tours running around, why I would hold a PTQ in my store when I know people aren't going to show up. It's going to cost me money.
That I could see.
It's going to piss off my players who want to play standard.
That I could see. Well, in that case, you could still run a limited. You could still run a sealed PPTQ. So that's
okay. So they still have an option. Okay.
Yeah, they still have an option. It's like every store can run 2 PPTQs per season, as far as I know. One can
Okay.
be sealed. The other has to be whatever the Pro Tour you're qualifying for.
Okay, I didn't know
Uh,
that. I thought it had to be, modern, standard, legacy, etc.
no, no.
Okay.
So, you still have the sealed option out there. So
Good. That's good. Okay, maybe that'll make people happy. I still don't think it makes the modern players happy, but
no,
I'm not
it's.
entirely certain what Wizards could do about that.
I must say, I mean, as I said, the only thing I think they should sort of fix that through is the Grand Prix trial circuit and maybe have more modern Grand Prix. That's the only thing I can think of is since they're moving away from it from the Pro Tour qualifiers, it's just to have more Grand Prix that have modern in it.
Well,
So,
that doesn't entirely help the situation because then when you switch the Pro Tour to being modern, the standard players are going to have the same problem.
well,
So
no. Well, no, Grand Prix and Pro Tours are not the same thing.
I know.
Is like
I understand. What I
okay.
said was if the Pro Tour is standard and you put more modern events in the Grand Prix.
Okay, it's like.
Or I'm sorry, if the Pro Tour is modern, not standard, then you have less standard events. So depending on what the Pro Tour is doing, you can't fix the Grand Prix by adding more of one event or the other.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's true. It's like I think really honestly the way it should be working is Grand Prix should be split between the popularity of the format. So you have like standard, you have some modern Grand Prix. Usually they only have one legacy Grand Prix a year.
Yeah,
And
that's probably a good idea, but it doesn't help store owners. We're
no, it doesn't.
still left with a problem.
No, yeah, they are. They are absolutely are. It is like, and yeah, so yeah, if you have a bigger modern scene than you have a standard scene, then yeah, I could see where that, or vice versa, that would be an issue. So,
well, hopefully they figure something out, and this doesn't cause too much trouble for anybody.
I honestly don't for the preliminary PTQs. I don't think it'll be that big of an issue because at least it makes sense in terms logically that if you're going to be trying to qualify for a standard Pro Tour, then you should probably know how to play standard too.
It only makes sense to do that. I'm just.
But yeah, to make everybody happy, yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the answer to that is. So.
Me neither. Alright, well, since we have no answers, we're going to move on, and we're going to talk about what shit we did this week.
Magic the Gathering. Get the cards, play the game. Hope to win, but as we all know it's not about winning.
Draft.
Commander.
Trading.
Legacy.
Modern.
Standard.
Tilt.
Table flip.
This Week in Magic starts now.
Alright, Will, what were you up to this lovely week?
Alright, well, since our last episode, I have been busy. I mentioned last episode that I got off for the Invitational, so I did get to compete in the Invitational in Richmond, Season 1. I played out day 1, though really honestly, by about round 7, I didn't have a reason to play it out. But I was like, you know what, this is probably the highest level competition that I'm playing against, so I'll just play. So I ended up going 2-8 overall on 2-6. Sorry, there's only 8 rounds, and you had to have a record of 5 or 3 or better to make day 2.
Mm-hmm.
So unfortunately, did not make day 2 of that. I won one of the 4 standard rounds, and I quote unquote won one of the legacy rounds, though actually that was an opponent who didn't show up. So that was a win by default. Still a win. I'll take it. So yeah, not the best invitational, but I am already qualified for Columbus, Ohio in June for season 2. So I'll be looking to hopefully be off work for that to go to. Then the next day, since I scrubbed out of the invitational, I decided to play the standard open. Started off, I think I ended up going 3-4 because when the open, once you get past your 3rd loss, you just, not worth playing anymore at that point. So yeah, I went 3-4, dropped in that one. Really did not get to make a whole lot of changes to my deck because it was standard. Did not get to make a whole lot of changes from the invitational version. So I decided I wasn't really happy with my Legacy deck after the Invitational. So I decided to play Modern in the Premier IQ on Sunday in Richmond. And I started off great in that event. I started off 3-1 going into round 5. And it was an 8-round event. So at the halfway point, I had only had one loss at that point. So I was feeling pretty good at that point. Overall, for the Modern Premier IQ, the good news is I was undefeated against any deck that's not Merfolk or a mirror match. This is like, unfortunately, I faced 4 of those decks. You there?
Hello?
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 Can you hear me?
You there? Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, I don't know what happened. That was
Okay.
weird. Okay, sorry. What was the last thing you were saying? You're talking about a mirror deck?
Yeah, Modern Premier IQ. The Premier IQ.
Premier. Okay, okay, I must have cut out then.
The Premier IQ. Okay. So, yeah, the Modern Premier IQ, I played my Grixis twin deck. Started off the day 3-1, and it was a 8-round event.
Okay.
Then I proceeded to lose my next 3. Ended up going 3-4 in that too.
Ooh.
So yeah, overall not the best weekend, but I definitely made up for it the next weekend after that because I played in a standard IQ at our store, and I would say made top 8 again. So that's
nice.
my third top 8 for the IQ. And actually, I finally got past the quarterfinals match, so I made it to the top 4. And at that point, 3 of us were already qualified for the Invitational. 1 person was not. So we decided just to basically split the prizes 4 ways. I gave the guy who, of course, wasn't qualified for the Invitational, go ahead and give him the Invitational invite. And then I got out of there like with $120, so definitely not too bad.
Awesome.
So, but I consider that my first spiking in Invitational, as I finally just won it. So, that just felt amazing, just to be able to say, okay, I finally went as far as the tournament went. Like I couldn't go any further without, being a dick and being the one person to say, okay, I don't want to split prizes. So.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So yeah, but yeah, beyond that,
sounds great.
Yeah, it's like had a pretty eventful week. I actually think during the Modern Premier IQ, I had one moment where you have those moments when you're playing where it's like something clicked that did not click before, and it's like, oh, I get this now. Okay, so I'll explain. This is when I was 2-1 in the Premier IQ. We were in round 3 or game 3, and it was my opponent was playing Burn, and they were splashing white because they had Path to Exile in their sideboard. Well, the opponent had 3 lands. I had 4 lands out, and it was my turn. I already had a Tassiger on the battlefield, so I went ahead and swing on my Tassiger. Now the opponent's lands were a mountain, a Stomping Ground, which is red-green, and a Sacred Foundry, which is red-white. Well, they tapped their red-white and attempt to Path to Exile my thing. Actually, I was at 5 lands, now that I'm thinking about it. I go ahead and cast Remand to send the Path to Exile back to their hand. So the damage went through. He ended up taking 4 points of damage. And then the second main phase, I was about to pass turn, but then I looked at the entire board state. It's like, wait a minute. He only has 1 white mana source out right now. If I let him untap, because I had Vendilion Click in my hand, which, if you don't know what Vendilion Click does, it's a flash creature that says, costs 3 mana, and it says, when it enters the battlefield, you can look at your opponent's hand, and you can choose a card from it, and they have to put that card on the bottom of their library. But they do get to draw a card. Beyond that. So I was like, okay, well, then I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, his white mana source is tapped right now because he just tried to Path to Exile my creature. It's like, if I let him untap, what's going to end up happening is if I can cast Vendilion Click in his draw step, which is normally what I would do, like 9 times out of 10, he's just going to path my Tassiger in response. So I was like, okay, you know what? Second main phase, I'm gonna go ahead and cast my Vendilion Click right now, so that way you do not get the chance to untap with that Path to Exile,
Mm-hmm.
and I can protect my Tassiger.
Let's protect Tassiger.
Yes, and ended up winning that match. It was one of those moments that I was just like, oh my gosh, I saw the entire board state, and I was like, no, I know what I normally do, but this is not what I'm going to do in this case, because I know I have to get that path out of his hand like right now. So
That's good.
Yeah. So, well, how was your weekend Magic?
Well, this last weekend I didn't actually do anything because I didn't want to. I got a little burned out with people, and I just wanted to be alone. So here I am alone. I skipped Friday Night Magic. I skipped the PTQ. That was today. But the last weekend I got to do an extra booster box sealed event.
Oh, nice.
Twice. I did one on Friday, one on Sunday. Friday I went 3-1 with my Atarka green red. I'm just gonna beat the shit out of you deck.
Nice.
It was okay, I'm gonna get all the card names wrong, but turn 3, I'm dropping the Surak, the new Surak, the
Surak, the Hunt Caller. Yep.
That guy. And then turn 5, I'm dropping the formidable Stampeding Elkherd.
Yep.
So then I give Stampeding Elkherd haste with Surak and swing 13.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. That's legit.
Yeah. So I did that 3 games. And then the other games I got Atarka. The one game I lost had nothing to do with how I played. I drew no creatures the first game, and I drew all land the second game.
Oh. Yeah,
except for one creature that he was able to kill. There's nothing I can do about either of those situations. I'm just like, the fuck?
Yeah, it's like, now, was this a draft deck, or was this your, like, standard deck that you were...
Draft, yeah.
Oh, it was draft. Good lord, you got Surak and Atarka? That's, wow.
And the Stampeding Elkherd. Yeah, and then I drew the most games. I had one of each. Like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, that sounds like a pool. That sounds like a very...
It was a great deck. Yeah. The deck was wicked awesome. I had a whole bunch of fight cards, so I had removal. It was awesome. I had roast. Oh
my god, yeah. Okay, your deck sounds amazing. Yeah,
it was amazing.
Really good.
Then that Sunday, I pulled a 5-color dragon deck. I got what was it? It was green-white, so I got the Dramoka Dragon Lord.
Yep.
And one of my pulls in the packs was the 4/4. Whenever another dragon gets a token, another creature gets a token, he gets a token.
Oh, a counter?
Yeah.
The enduring
counter. I'm sorry. What did I say? I said token, didn't I?
Yeah. It was like I think it's was it the Enduring Scale Lord or the Irrational Sovereign? I don't know. We actually talked about it with the judge last episode.
Yeah, whatever the fuck it was.
Yeah.
That guy. So, and I got another one that wasn't too good, but it was the green Bolster Dragon. When you turn him face up, or whatever. I don't remember. Something... when he comes into play, all dragons get +1/+1 counters. Something like that. Yeah. That one. The green one of him.
Okay, got it, yeah. Because, there's a whole cycle of those.
Yeah. So this is my starter pack and my first pack. And I'm going, okay, clearly I'm going green-white. Like, I've gotten a whole bunch of mana gain. Like, I got 2 of the ones that let you search your deck for 2 basic land cards. I got 2 of the ones that drop onto your land and you get your land produces 2 of any color. And then I've got,
is it the Dragonland, the Haven of the Spirit Dragon?
Yeah, and I got the dragon one. So all my I can tap my dragon land, and put a counter on it. Then remove X number of counters to get any amount of mana I want.
Oh, okay. That's Crucible. Sorry, I was thinking
Crucible.
because
Yeah, that's what I got. So I've got all this mana fixing just in my first pack and my first starter. And I'm like, okay, I'm still going green-white. I don't know what the fuck I'm gonna do with all this mana fixing, but yay! Then the very next pack, I opened Silumgar.
Which one? The new one or Drifting Death?
The new one.
Oh, Dragon Lord, the one you can steal stuff.
Yeah.
Steal stuff with.
And then in the next pack, I drew the what did I draw? I don't remember, but I ended up with 8 dragons. Oh, the red dragon. Out of my colors again. The red dragon that target one dragon and the player takes 3 damage.
Oh, Thunderbreak Regent.
Yeah.
Yep.
So I'm like, 4 fucking dragons, 5 fucking colors. I'm like, fuck it, I'm still going green-white. This is irritating. But then next time drawing the colorless dragon dude, I drew the blue dragon that also does the plus counters, and I'm just like, fuck it, 5 colors. I don't even care. This is gonna be horrible, but I don't even know what else to play. Like, the rest of my pulls are terrible. I got 2 of that black rare that pay X, deals X damage, draw X cards.
Oh, yeah, the name escapes me, but I know.
Terrible in limited. Horrible.
Yeah, it's like, unless you know you can kill the opponent, yeah, that's a
Yeah.
that's a rough one.
I was not happy at all. I'm like, I can't even play anything else. Fuck it, I'm going 5 colors. So, thank God, I got all this mana fixing. Because I went 4-0.
Wow, nice.
Like, I ran up against one other guy who's like, yeah, I went 5-color dragon too. I think I can take your deck. And I'm like, yeah, sure, whatever. This is after I've already won 2. He's one of those guys who's like, oh, it's a girl playing. She's playing 5 colors. Deck must be bad. So,
Yeah.
I sit down across from him, and he's like, yeah, I'm totally gonna win, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, yeah, okay. So, the first game, I wiped his face. Just whatever. He's like, okay, whatever. So, the second game he won, I had him at 6 when he made his comeback with some life gain card, I don't remember. And I'm like, okay, whatever, I still don't care, because I got game 3, and in game 3, he got me down to 5 before I took him from 22 down to 0.
Oh my God!
Wait, the deck waits until turn 6. I'm sorry, turn 5. I sit there and I do, like, nothing. I play 3 cards, maybe, before turn 6. And then on turn 6, you've got me at 6 or 7, and I'm like, fucking Dramoka Lord, this other dragon. Oh, I got the green-red dragon that, you know, when he swings, you get 6 mana. So I'll drop his fucking ass, swing at your face for 4, and then promptly drop 2 more dragons in my second main phase.
Good Lord.
Yeah, so the deck was rough. The deck is like, oh, you're winning? No dragons.
It's like, deal with these big creatures or you lose. Like,
yeah, and I've done enough before then to make you use most of your removal. Because I had, like, 3 creatures that came in. It was, like, the 1/3 flying dude, and then some. They were enough of a threat that you're like, fuck, I have to kill this.
Yeah. Yeah, the something rock. I'm trying to think of it. Yeah. It's not Wingmate Rock, because that's the one from Con, so that's the really, really good one.
But whatever. So it was good. I was really happy with that. I'm in love with this set for limited. It's just, there's so many options.
I was like, that's what I've heard, is because I heard a lot of people were complaining, especially people who drafted frequently, with the Fate Reforged, because Fate Reforged seemed like almost always you take the rare and you keep going. So far from what I've heard, everybody loves the limited format of Dragons of Tarkir, because you have the morphs back, you have the dragons, you kind of consolidate down to like 2 colors.
Well, what it is there's so many big creatures, there's so many draw, there's so much mana fixing. Like, you pull these cards and you're like, okay, this is clearly what I need to do, is this.
Yeah.
It's like, there is literally no other, so I guess there's not a lot of options, but it's like, there's no other option. This is the deck that wins, and everything else is shit.
Yeah.
All the flying, all the unblockable. Like, I had one guy, I had the morph that he flips up, and he's got Megamorph for 1. He's a 1/1 unblockable.
Oh, that you can flip up for 2, yeah. Schedule
Yeah.
Lurker, I think, or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I had white cards in there that added counters and shit. So at one point I won a game because he was a 5/5.
Oh my gosh.
There was some silly shit going on. Of course, that was my first game, and the opponent did not know how to build a deck. So I had this 5/5 blue dude, and I beat his face in, but it was because my opponent didn't know what he was doing. He kept trying to kill it, and I just kept fucking, no, you're not allowed to kill it.
Nope, you can't kill this. It's like, so.
He's got protection from red, and now he's bigger.
It was like, that sounds like that was a lot of fun. So
It was a lot of fun, yeah.
Very nice.
So that was my magic. I didn't actually get anything good except the Dragon Lords.
Well, I was saying,
and the Surak. I lied. Surak's a good card.
Well, Dragon Lord of Tarka, especially after this Pro Tour weekend. Yeah, it's like
she's going for like $20 that promo.
Oh, the Tarka, yeah, easily.
Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I know for a fact Star City is sold out of Dragon Lord of Tarka right now at 12. So chances are when they get some back, it's going to be 15, maybe more. So
something like that. But we're gonna actually have to get to the topics and tell people why these cards are going there because we have taken way too much time. So we're gonna have to hurry through this.
Yep.
And we're gonna tell you guys about all the new standard decks.
It's like, well, this is not all inclusive because there's actually a really wide variety of standard decks out there right now.
Right, but we picked Will picked for us a very good smattering of the different kind of decks that are out there and that people are playing. And we're going to be starting with Green-White Devotion.
Yeah, Green-White Devotion. And this may just be a little bit because I play Green-White Devotion. But Green-White Devotion gets a couple of new, really, really good tools. And kind of the list that I'm going off of is Chris Anderson's Green-White Devotion list. This was actually from the Invitational in Richmond. Now, for the most part, it looks sort of like your standard Green-White Devotion list. You have your Whisperwood Elementals, your Mastery of the Unseens, Genesis Hydra, etc., etc. However, there are two new cards in this deck that really make this deck insane. One is Death Mist Raptor.
I was really surprised to see this card being played so much.
This card is amazing, I think. It's like, especially when combined with the other new card, but I'll talk about that one in a moment. But honestly, Green-White Devotion is the shell that really can take advantage of Death Mist Raptor because you have Mastery of the Unseen, you have Whisperwood Elemental, you're going to be flipping up a lot of permanents anyway. Mm-hmm. So it's really easy to get it back from your graveyard. And I mean, even in a worst case scenario, if you have two Death Mist Raptors and one's in the graveyard, you can play one just face down and then turn it up. Mm-hmm. And you usually produce enough mana to do that pretty easily. So, however, the thing that I really think is the kicker with Death Mist Raptor is the other new card, which is Dramoka's Command.
Oh, now, such a good card.
Dramoka's Command is an insane card because it has 4 different modes you get to choose 2. One, prevent all damage target instant or sorcery would cause this turn. So if someone tries to roast your Pelucranos, like, no, you don't get to do that. Target player sacrifices an enchantment, which could be very pertinent, especially if people are playing, like, Banishing Light,
Courser of Kruphix,
stuff like that.
Card.
Whip of Erebos.
Yeah.
It's things, anything that can be like, okay, we'll just sacrifice, you have to sacrifice that enchantment.
Or that green enchantment that grants mana. That Cons card.
The sieges, the Outpost Siege and the Frontier Siege. The third mode is put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. So I mean, that's always good. Put a counter on something.
But it's even better when you get to fight target creature you don't control.
And this is where that's the part of the Dramoka's Command where that and Death Mist Raptor have about the best synergy in the entire world.
Oh.
It's like, you could say, all right, I want my Death Mist Raptor to fight whatever your biggest creature is.
And they both die, but
I get mine back by flipping something up.
Yep. So, oh, wow. Okay.
It's like, that's a very nice synergy with that.
How well is this deck doing in Standard?
Amazing, actually. I think in the Pro Tour, I know there's at least 2 Green Devotion decks. I think only one is a true green-white. The other one is green-red, but even that one I think is splashing white for
Dromoka's Command.
And Mastery of the Unseen, of course. Yeah. So yeah, still doing pretty well. So.
All right, good. And we also saw a comeback of Esper Control.
Yeah, Esper. All right, here's a lesson, and I don't think WotC is listening to this podcast yet.
So it's okay. Tell them anyways.
It's like, what in your right mind did you think giving control decks to hexproof dragons? Like, seriously? Like, have you lost your mind? All right, so anyway, the Esper control deck that we're talking about specifically is Shaheen Saronis, again from the Invitational. He ended up getting 12th place with this deck. But I think it ended up going 7-1 in the standard portion. So very good deck. Of course, you would expect, since it is Esper controlled, that you would see at least a couple of Silumgar the Drifting Death, which there is 2 of those in this deck. However, the new cards are the very interesting cards, starting off with the creatures with Dragon Lord Ojutai. Which
so
very good. It's hexproof as long as it is untapped. Now, of course, what that means is technically you can tap out for it on your turn, and you know that the next turn you get to untap, it's still going to be there. Because unless they have a board wipe, they're not going to be able to handle this.
Yeah.
So, but the other really good part of Dragon Lord Ojutai is that whenever it deals combat damage, that you get to look at the top 3 cards, pick one, and put the other 2 to the bottom.
Because all Esper needed was more card draw.
Yeah, and actually, that ability is specifically Anticipate, which is another new card in Dragons of Tarkir, and
which
is also
ridiculous.
Which is also a new card in this deck as well.
Anticipate totally took the place of Dig Through Time. Like, Dig is good, but Anticipate's better.
Oh yeah, it's like and
then in most decks, not in blue decks. Obviously, they're gonna run both. But in decks where you only have a place for 1 or 2 or 3, you're gonna run Anticipate over Dig.
But you don't have double blue. I agree with that. And I expect to see Anticipate splashed into some other decks going down the road. I know for a fact that in my Grixis Twin deck right now, I took out the Thought Scours out of the deck, and I'm running 4 Anticipates.
Yep.
So I can just do end of turn, play top 3 cards. Oh, look, there's my Splinter Twin.
That's what I'm saying. Exactly. Combo decks. Woohoo!
Let's see. The other big thing, there's 2 other really big cards in the set. Of course, he has Ultimate Price, but I don't want to talk about that one because that's sort of boring. But the things I want to talk about is, one, Silumgar Scorn, which is the blue counter spell, counter target spell.
You reveal a dragon card from your hand, as an additional cost to cast Silumgar Scorn, you may reveal a dragon card from your hand. Counter target spell unless the controller pays 1 colorless. If you revealed a dragon card or controlled a dragon as you cast Silumgar Scorn, counter that spell instead. And this got me a little bit because I misread the part where it says, if you control a dragon.
Yeah, it's like, it's not that you have to necessarily reveal it. If you have one on board, then that's just as good.
Yeah.
So, there is a very old spell. In fact, as far as I know, it's only played in Legacy, called Counter Spell, which it was blue counter target spell, regardless of whatever it was.
Yep, it's pretty much back.
Yep, it's pretty much back with this, as long as you're running enough dragons to make it worthwhile. But even the good thing about Silumgar Scorn is, say you're facing off against an aggro deck or something like that as a control deck, you can just tap it for 2, even if you don't have a dragon in hand, because chances are they're going to be tapping out for whatever they do anyway. So they're not going to have a mana open to pay that cost. So, so pretty good. Then the last card that I want to talk about out of this deck is Narset Transcendent, the Planeswalker.
The Planeswalker of silliness.
Yeah, it's like, really this deck is besides trying to just get additional card draw off of
trying to put her on the field
off of the +1, yeah. That you just keep drawing cards like Anticipate, Dig Through Time. But really, when it uses its -2 ability, it's using it for 1 of 2 cards. And I've at the Invitational, I only saw the -2 ability used for 1 of these 2 cards. Either A, Dig Through Time, So how wonderful
dig
that
and
is.
dig again. Yep.
You get to dig again on your upkeep on the next turn, or Crux of Fate, to be like, okay, I wipe your board now, then I pass turn to you. It's like, well, you're not going to play anything, at least nothing that can be board wiped, because it's going to die on next turn. And then that player untaps. It's like, all right, Crux of Fate again. So basically, they what's called time walking you. Essentially, it's basically they essentially get to take another turn before you get to do anything. So
that's a good play, though. That's a good play.
A really good play. So
irritating as fuck, but really good play.
Really strong play. And I've seen the ultimate go off a few times. There are some decks that are hurt by it, some that aren't. Like I honestly had it against someone who was playing green-white. When I was playing green-white Devotion, they ultimate in our set. I was like, okay, 30-some of my spells are creatures. I really don't give two shits about, not playing non-creature spells. However, in a lot of other decks, it does matter. And so it's really, really, really good. So, but yeah, Control's back in a big way. There are, I think, at least 3 Control decks in the top 8 right now of the Pro Tour.
Fuck that.
I would say, and I mean, not all of them are Esper. I think there's one Esper, a couple blue-black, I think. So
yeah, fuck them all. Let's move on to Jund, because I don't like them any. I don't like any of them.
So Jund mid-range. Now, this one was actually not played at the Invitational, but it was played by Gerard Fabiano at the Standard Open in Syracuse, New York. And this deck is sort of a Reanimator deck, though not
this
really.
deck is what I've been expecting to see since they did the spoilers.
Yes, and this is exactly, yeah. It's running sort of the new cards that are in here. It's running 2 Sidisi Undead Visors, which are the exploit. You get to go search for any card in your deck, essentially. Which is part of the reason why the deck is only running 1 Whip of Erebos. This is like, oh, well, I can go get this at any time. I don't have to,
Mm-hmm.
I don't have to worry about running 3 or 4 to make sure I hit it.
Sure.
So, the other big card, and this is the reason why I think he was playing Jund versus, say, Sultai or something like that, is Dragon Lord Atarka, which, you already talked
only
about.
one, because he can just go find it.
One again, he can go find it. Actually, this is sort of he can get whatever is needed in the circumstance. For example, here's the one-ofs that he's running just in creatures. 1 Hornet Queen, 1 Sullivan Istrad, 1 Doomweight Giant, 1 Dragon Lord Atarka, and 1 Whip of Erebos. That's a non-creature. But he also has Planeswalkers too. He has 1 Garruk Apex Predator and with Ugin the Spirit Dragon. So literally, he could tutor up pretty much any of these one-ofs in his deck, depending on what he needs.
Yeah, it's a really good deck. It's really intelligent. I think it's going to be very difficult for most people to play, so I don't think we're going to see a lot of it.
I don't think so either.
I think it's going to be able to handle most other decks.
Well, see, I like Sidisi Undead Visor in this deck, but I'll be honest, I don't think this is the optimal deck. I think the optimal deck is going to be the one we're going to talk about next. But Dragon Lord Atarka, though, is something worth mentioning. That card is amazing.
Yeah.
It is like, and yes, it is 7 mana, but it's 7 mana for an 8/8 flyer. Like, I mean, how can you get any better than that? I don't think you can. An 8/8 flying trample that can kill a Siege Rhino as soon as it comes in.
It's a really good card. Nobody's questioning that. But let's talk about the deck that you think is better. Sultai Reanimator.
Yes, yeah. This is the deck that I personally think and this is also running a Sidisi Undead Visor as well. And also, actually, it's running both Sidisis. It's running the Sidisi Brute Tyrant and Sidisi Undead Visors. However, this is just more of your traditional Reanimator deck. And this is the deck that I would expect, because you would have, again, Sidisi Brute Tyrant makes tokens. You play that on turn 3 or turn 4, depending on if you have, like, Stolen Carry added out or something like that. And then turn 4 or turn 5, you play Sidisi Undead Visor. You can sacrifice the token that was created when it first came in and go search up anything in your library.
So you're not really losing anything of value.
Yeah, that's kind of the reason why I like this probably a little bit better than I like it in the Jund version, because in the Jund version, with the exception of the Satyr Wayfinders, which, I mean, again, they're sort of good because they are 1/1 nothings that get you a land when they come in. So they're easily sacrificable. But at least this one you can do the Satyr Wayfinder, or you can do the tokens, or you can even do like the Torrent Elemental and then exile it with something else and then get it back. So
I honestly would have put in an Elvish Mystic over the Satyr Wayfinder. It costs 1 less. It's got the same power and toughness. There's still no issue sacking it to anything. But it gives you mana every turn as opposed to just getting you a land.
I definitely would not. And the main reason why is because this is a Reanimator deck. It's like you want stuff in the graveyard to bring back. So, since you want stuff in the graveyard to bring back, you have to have a good way of putting stuff into the graveyard. And that's where Satyr Wayfinder is.
Oh, of course. I missed that part.
Yep.
Yep.
So Satyr Wayfinder is traditionally in the Reanimator decks done
to get shit in the graveyard. Yep.
Yeah. And then that way you can easily, usually once you do that, maybe pop a couple fetch lands. You can have a Tassiger by turn 3.
Yeah.
If you have everything set up. Really, the only kind of newish card that's in here, and also, sorry, I did not give credit to who played this deck. This was Reed Duke at the Invitational.
Came in second.
Yeah, he came in second place. Yeah, so he did really well with this deck. I mean, who were we kidding? He's a Platinum Pro. I mean, so he's
okay, but he came in second. Let's talk about the deck.
Yeah. So the kind of one new interesting card that he has, at least in the main deck, is Dragon Lord Silumgar, which is the flying Death Touch, and whenever he comes into the battlefield, you get to steal either a creature or a planeswalker your opponent controls. So
card is rough.
This card is very rough. It's like, and I mean, he's also running the other Silumgar as well, of course, right? Actually, because that's hexproof. But yeah, it's like, and you can time this really well. Say like Elspeth's gonna ultimate the next turn or something like that. You can be like, even if you whip it back or something like that, you can be like, whip back Dragon Lord Silumgar. I'll take your Elspeth. I'll ultimate your Elspeth. You get nothing back in with that, and then I get your emblem as well. So it's like, what you gonna do? The other thing, actually, interesting enough, you can do is when you do that, is if you can play the Dragon Lord Silumgar and then take something of theirs and then sack it with a CDC Undead Visor.
That's just mean.
That's just cruel, but you can do it, I'm sure. It's really sort of a traditional full-time Reanimator deck, and I actually expect to see kind of some new variations on it.
Definitely.
But since this was, day one that the new set came out, I didn't expect a whole lot with this. So
I think the change really came that Timur aggro made such a big play, which we're going to talk about next. Yeah,
this is probably, I would say, of all the decks, this is probably the most quote-unquote original of the decks. And I didn't play against it at the Invitational, but I did play against it at the Open.
I played against this 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. Did I tell you about this?
No.
Turn 3, Savage Knuckleblade. No, I'm sorry, it was turn 2. Turn 2, Savage Knuckleblade, because
why not?
Fucking Elvish Mystic. Turn 3, Savage Knuckleblade with haste, swing 8. Turn 4, fucking the flying shit thing.
Ash Cloud Phoenix?
Yeah. No, not Ash Cloud. It was the dragon. It was the dragon.
Oh, Thunderbreak region. Okay, yeah. So,
and I was like, oh my god!
It's like, well, this deck is very unique. I think even probably from that Teamer aggro deck, because this Teamer, there's one big card. I mean, this deck does have Death Mist Raptor. We've already talked about Death Mist Raptor, how wonderful and great it is. Don't want to go too far into that one. But the interesting thing with this is a little card called Collected Company. Now, Collected Company, it costs 4 mana, and it says it's an instant speed. So you can do this at the end of your opponent's turn. Just add that in. Is look at the top 6 cards of your library. You can put up to 2 creature cards with converted mana cost less than 3 onto the battlefield. And I think you either put the rest in your graveyard or put the rest on the bottom of your library.
Bottom of your library.
Okay, so even if you get one, I mean, this is an instant speed Goblin Rabblemaster, an instant speed Savage Knuckleblade, an instant speed Death Mist Raptor. you know.
Fanatic of Xenagos. Oh my goodness.
Fanatic of Xenagos, yeah.
Oh my goodness! I didn't even see that. That's incredible.
Yeah, but then if you look at this creature base, and this was played by Bob Huang at the Invitational, he didn't get a really high place. He got 126, but the deck itself is just so great that I think there's a lot of.
I think it's because there's a lot of answers to it. It needs more answers. The sideboard doesn't look.
It's like, yeah, the sideboard could definitely, I think, use some adjustments. But the main kind of interaction with this deck is the Collected Company and most of his creatures. Really, the only creature that he has that is higher than 3 mana cost is Ashcloud Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Everything else is 3 or less. Deathmist Raptor, Elvish Mystic, Fanatic of Xenagos, Goblin Ravelmaster, Heir of the Wilds, Savage Knuckleblade. All those are 3 or less.
I like it.
So at the end of your opponent's turn, you can tap 4 mana and be like, okay, I'll look at the top 6 cards. Oh, and this is what happened to me during the open part of the open on Saturday at Richmond. I'll look at the top 4 cards. I'll grab a Savage Knuckleblade and a Deathmist Raptor. And I was like, wait, what just happened? Like, it's like, okay, now I'll start my turn. So then they come in, they have sort of pseudo haste that you can do it at the end of your opponent's turn and be like, oh yeah, and now I have, And
now here's another Savage Knuckleblade to the face.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, that's fucked up in all kinds of ways. I love it. I think I might make this deck.
Yeah, and actually, I'm actually working on a Collected Company deck, not this exact one, but using another new card called Assault Formation. And it's basically like 03 walls, 04 or 03s, 04s.
Oh, that's
like that.
Brilliant! I love it. I was looking for. Oh, I'm totally gonna make that janky deck. I was looking for a way to get that hit everything in the ass deck.
Yeah,
I want to call it the Badonkadonk deck.
It's like, it's like, I have an early version of it, and so I'm probably gonna try it 1 week for FNM. I don't think it's something that I would play competitively, like an IQ or something.
No, it wouldn't place, but it would be fun.
But yeah, I mean, just for Friday Night Magic or something like that. Yeah, I'm gonna build it as. I think I'm gonna build it as Naya, so that way I can play the red Crater Elemental. That's an 06.
Oh yeah. I think it has to be Teamer, in my opinion.
It's like, well, yeah, there's a lot of good.
You need answers. You need to be able to counter shit.
Yeah.
And I think Sarkhan the Unbroken would play really well with that. Badonkadonk. Hit you in the ass. So Badonkadonk, call it the twerking, call it the Miley Cyrus, like.
The only thing you can't call it Butt Battle because that's taken from Fate Reforged.
Oh, that's
you can call it anything else, but no Butt Battle.
Oh.
So yeah, out of all the decks, even though it's the one that placed the worst of all of them, I really like at least the idea behind the Teamer aggro deck. There's some tweaking definitely to be done, but I like the idea behind it.
It's a great idea. I want somebody to take this deck and make it amazing and win with it. That's what I want.
That's like, honestly, at this point, what I would probably consider doing if I was just gonna do a quick little edit on this, is I would probably cut the Ashcloud Phoenixes and get a couple of those Frostwalkers, 4-1 for 2.
I don't know. I think I'd pull the Ash Clouds and the Airs. I'd put in counter spells because it doesn't have answers. It's just gonna get stomped on. It needs draw because it has to have Collected Company. It doesn't have any draw. I'd probably try and get Cursor of Krufix in there because the fuck are you doing playing green without Cursor of Krufix?
I was like, considering this is an aggro deck, I can understand no Courser.
No, it's an aggro deck, but if you don't, it's also a combo deck. If you don't draw Collected Company, you're fucked. Cursor's gonna give you a better chance of getting more land to get more creatures out to build faster.
Actually, you know what I would probably do is looking at it, here's what I think I would do if I would. I mean, I'm not saying this is going to be the most optimal, but I think this would be the thing that would work. Cut the 2 Ashcloud Phoenixes, cut the 2 Crater's Claws for 4 Anticipate.
Yes.
It's like
absolutely.
There's your card draw. I'd be like, okay, I'll just start cycling through my deck
and I'd cut the 4 Heir of the Wilds for some kind of counterspell.
It's
or
like,
a mix between
yeah.
a counterspell and removal. And then sideboard the other ones. Because if you're not going to have ants, that's what kills red deck wins. Is you get to turn 4 and you're fucked.
Yeah, it's like, yeah. Well,
And
I think
it's
that's
because it has no answers.
Well, that's why I think you have like the Sarkin Unbroken and the sideboard and stuff like that. For you can play a little bit longer game after sideboard, but
And that's why I'm saying you shouldn't be playing with that. That's what I'm saying.
Air of the Wilds. I mean, since it is Death Touch, the good news is most people are not gonna want to block it until they absolutely have to block it.
I played Air of the Wilds for a while in my Absent deck, and it's really not that good.
It's like,
people think it's good, but there's too much removal. There's too many answers out there. It's a 2/2. If you're lucky, it's a 3/3. It's gonna just get its face raped. And you're lucky to have it do what you put it in the deck for.
Honestly, I would probably consider if I was going to cut the Air of the Wilds, I would probably put in Rattleclaw Mystic for 2 reasons. One, if we take out the Ash Cloud Phoenix, we don't really have a good way to get back the Death Mist Raptor.
Oh, that's a good point. And then we could pull the Elvish Mystic for something because you don't need both.
Yeah, no, I don't think you. Yeah, no, I don't think you necessarily need both. At least not pre-board. I mean, sideboard. If you're up against a mono red aggro deck, you're probably going to want something to kind of hold them off when they can go like 6 creatures at a time.
Well, yeah, that's why you got Anger of Gods in the
sideboard. Yeah,
that's why you got Magma Spray in the sideboard. It has answers for red deck wins.
Yeah,
it doesn't need. I don't know. It would take some playtesting, but I like it. I like it a lot.
I do too. I really like this deck. It's like, yeah. Honestly, I'm still sticking with Green White Devotion because I think that deck is insane with the Deathmist Raptors. But if I was going to build another kind of competitive standard deck, I think Team or Aggro would definitely be the route I would go. Mainly because I have most of those cards already. So.
Yeah, I'm dismantling my Jeskai deck anyways. I might build this.
It's like, yeah, this really looks like a lot of fun. It really does. It's like...
And there's so much you can do in Teamer right now. The only thing I argue with is I think Sarkin should be in the main board.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like, because just knowing that it's an aggro deck and you really want to hit all those 3 and under converted mana cost creatures.
I get that.
I think it's taken away from
I don't think that this format is good for aggro anymore.
As not unless you could just go all out. I think if you go like mono red aggro, I think you may be okay, but otherwise...
You still have to get the perfect draw, and that's why I'm saying it needs to be more of a mid-range deck. I would make a Teamer mid-range. I would not make I would call it a Collected Company mid-range. That's what I'd call it. I would not make a Collected Company aggro deck. Because I think you can win with all those 3s. You get a Goblin Rabblemaster and a Savage Knuckleblade for 4 on the field. It doesn't fucking matter what they've got on the other side of the field.
No, it really doesn't. It's like...
You got a Deathmist Raptor. That's why I don't like Air of the Wilds. That's why I don't like the Ash Cloud Phoenix. I think the Fanatic of Xenagos could be okay. But at the same time, I'd look for something that cost 3 and was better.
I mean, honestly, if I was going to go for a flyer in this deck, I would be really hard pressed not to put Thunderbreak Region. I think that's... If you're going to go with a 4-mana flyer... Isn't there a
2/2 flyer for 3 that comes back from the graveyard?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. Flamewake Phoenix. Actually, yeah, Flamewake would probably be the preferred, I think.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, if you kill it, then... Unless you exile it somehow, then it's going to come back.
Yeah, I would put in Flamewake Phoenix. If I have to have a flyer. I'd probably Flamewake Phoenix in the sideboard. And I'd probably... Yeah. And, you know what? When I figure it out, I'll let you guys know what I did. So, that's going to be our show for this week. I hope you enjoyed us talking about Standard so fucking much.
Yeah. It's like, and I think after tomorrow, I think we're going to have some more answers as to what may be the best deck in the format. I personally think if you just say, I want to play the best deck, period. Answer is probably Control, as much as I hate to say it. But
yeah.
But I think tomorrow with the top 8, we'll definitely answer a lot of those questions. So we'll definitely see.
We will see, and we'll do a brief news on it for you guys next time we talk to you.
Yep.
So thank you for listening. If you'd like to find out more about what Will and I are doing, we are both on Twitter. I'm at Janaelle5, Janaelle, and the number 5. Will's Twitter is...
I'm at Redhawk Will, and you can find the show's Twitter at AWC Podcast. And I encourage you definitely to follow it, because usually in the days before we record an episode, I will throw out a kind of a community question that I would love to get some responses to, and we'll try to read them on the show. So...
It influences also what we talk about in the topic, because it lets us know what you would rather us talk about than maybe what we're thinking about.
Yep.
You can also email the show if you'd like to hear us talk about something. If you have a question for our judge who is waiting for your questions, email the show at awcpodcast@gmail.com. There's also a bunch of ways you can support the show, and it all depends on how you're listening. If you're listening to us on SoundCloud, give us a heart and then repost. If you're listening to us on Stitcher, give us a thumbs up. If you're on YouTube, comment and then give us a like. If you're on iTunes, we want a 5-star and a review. There's also one other way you can support the show, and that's by heading over to boltsnapbolt.net, who is our sponsor, and
yes.
Will tell you all about that, because that's where his blog is.
Yes, boltsnapbolt.net is a Magic community talking about pretty much whatever your interest is in Magic. You'll find something there. If you're interested in Limited, you'll find it there. If you're interested in Tiny Leaders, constructed, competitive formats, as Janaelle said, that is where my blog is, Force of Will. And I definitely, in the next couple weeks, I definitely want you to check it out, because I have decided I am going to do what I've called a kind of an F&M challenge. Is in my latest blog post, I put like 3 or 4 different kind of brews that I've come up with, and I just every week for F&M, between the blog and my Twitter, I'm going to ask you, which of these decks do you want to see me play on F&M? So for like,
make them spend money, guys.
It's like, so for example, this past week at F&M, I played Naya Flyers. I ended up going 3-1 with it. So
nice,
pretty good deck. So definitely, I definitely want to kind of challenge myself and challenge my deck building skills a little bit. So definitely go to my blog post, and I'll give kind of a weekly update as to what brews I played at F&M and how they went.
And while you're there, click on that Puka Trade link and sign up with Puka Trade, where you can trade cards for points to other people, buy cards with those points after you've traded them. It's a great system, and we'd really appreciate it. And we will talk to you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Don't cheat.